Well, welcome to Central Online. We are so glad you're joining us here this weekend. Our experience is about an hour long, and we have a great one in store for you today. Hey, joining us on demand is awesome, but did you know that every Sunday we go live at 10 a.m. and 11:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time? We have a whole Central family ready to chat and interact with you throughout the entire experience. You don't want to miss out on that. And if you'd like to join that Central family, it's really simple. You can click the link in the description or head over to centralonline.tv/online experience. And by joining this Central family, you'll not only get access to graphics and information to share all over your social media, but access to an amazing community as well. And while you're at it, be sure to share this experience with your friends and family. You don't want to miss out, and they don't want to miss out either. And if you want to stay up to date on all things Central and when we go live, subscribe to our YouTube channel now. Well, it looks like the experience is about to begin, so for now, get ready for Central Online.
What's up, Central? Come on, let's sing together. The herald angels sing, glory to the newborn King, peace on earth and mercy mild, God and sinners reconciled. Joyful all ye nations rise, join the triumph of the skies, with angelic hosts proclaim, Christ is born in Bethlehem. Hark, the herald angels sing, glory to the newborn King of glory. Great and wonder, Christ the Savior, lifted higher. King of glory, great and wonder, Christ the Savior, lifted higher. Come on. The heaven-born Prince of Peace, hail the Son of Righteousness, light and life to all he brings, risen with healing in his wings. Mild he lay his glory by, born that man no more may die, born to raise the sons of earth, born to give them second birth. Hark, the herald angels sing, glory to the newborn King of glory. Great and wonder, Christ the Savior, lifted higher. King of glory, great and wonder, Christ the Savior, lifted higher. King of glory, great and wonder, Christ the Savior, lifted higher. King of glory, great and wonder, Christ the Savior, lifted higher. You guys ready to keep singing? All right, let's go. Joy to the world, the Lord is come. Let earth receive her King. Let every heart prepare him room.
everyone. My name is Erin and I'm an online host here at Central. Hey, if it's your first time joining us here, we want you to know that Central is a place where it's okay to not be okay. You can come as you are, you belong, and we are so glad that you're joining us. This weekend we're wrapping up our series leading up to Christmas called Thrill of Hope, which is based all around the Christmas carols that make up Centralized brand new Christmas album, also titled Thrill of Hope. Well, I have exciting news. Christmas at Central is only 1 week away. To find all experience times and locations that might be near you, you can visit christmasattcentral.com right now. And if you plan on joining us here online, we'll be going live on December 23rd at 10 a.m., 12 p.m., 5 p.m. and 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. We'll also be going live on December 24th, which is Christmas Eve, at 1 p.m., 3 p.m., 5 p.m., and 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. You don't want to miss out on any of those live experiences. We're going to have Pastor Judd joining us, Central Live, and maybe even a few surprise guests. You never know what's going to happen here online live. You'll just have to tune in to see. And let us know how you guys are inviting your friends and family to Christmas at Central by using the hashtag on social media, Christmas at Central. And speaking of the Christmas season, as most of you know, right now we are in this initiative called All is Bright. And this Christmas season, we want to shine a bright light of hope on 15,000 kids in need. Check out this story.
I'm Hunter Cheney, and I am with God Behind Bars, and we have one of our heroes. Her name is Carrie. Carrie hasn't seen her son in about 3 years, and today she thinks she's giving her testimony, but we have a huge surprise for her today. We have teamed up with Central Church, and thanks to your generosity, we were able to fly her son all the way from Pennsylvania to Las Vegas to surprise her. She hasn't seen him in about 3 years, and he's going to be walking in, and we're going to have this beautiful reunification moment, and we're so excited to share it with you.
I was adopted as an infant. My earliest memories, I think, are like at 3 years old. Again, the household was nothing but subjected to abuse, mental, physical, emotional. I was probably in 3 or 4 foster homes in between the time that they took me out of the adopted house. My drug use started probably by the time I was 12, 13. Like I said, by the time I was 15, I was making drops and picking up money and driving. I wasn't even licensed yet, but I thought I was important. I thought I was somebody. And that was my first felony because I got pulled over. I met Caden's dad, who was totally dysfunctional in the drug world. I ended up getting myself back into trouble and going to prison for the first time here in Nevada. My next door neighbor, who intervened and had been a positive, amazing source of support, actually stepped in, and that's where Caden is today. The night of the 31st, I'm sitting there. I knew I had court the next day, and I was dreading it, telling myself, what have you done? You've messed up again. You're throwing your life away. I need help. I was crying out. I didn't know what to do. I was scared. I was alone. And I was overwhelmed with a feeling of warmth. And I knew it was God. The last time I saw Caden was when I put him on a plane after his grandmother's funeral. So it's been almost 4 years. He's crazy. There's a letter that we talked about that I want to read him because I don't know if he's going to be here or not. Caden, I'm writing to you obviously because something happened and unfortunately getting you here was unsuccessful. I want you to know that all of the events leading up to this have been life-changing on my part. I so desperately wanted you to be here to see your mom stand tall for the first time in her life and not be afraid or ashamed of what someone might think about her. I love you, Caden, with all my heart and being. You are amazing. Mom's gonna continue to change into the best that I can be for us. I miss you so much. This next year is ours. So just know, I'm grateful you're in my life and that we have each other. Until we're together again. Merry Christmas, Caden. Love, Mom.
I got him on FaceTime for you right now.
Yeah?
Do you want to FaceTime your son?
Yeah.
Can I do that right
Hi, baby.
now?
Alright, how are you?
I'm doing good. You look so good.
You too.
Yeah, I miss you so much.
I miss you too.
So tell me what's going on in school.
Not much, just working on a couple final projects. The semester's almost over, so.
Well, just know I wish that you could be here, Mom.
Yeah, I wish I could too. How's your day been? Like, just today in general?
Today, they picked me up at 7 o'clock this morning. They took me to get my hair, my makeup, my nails to look beautiful for this presentation. And, you know, Mom's always been secure that I'm not pretty or I've always been tomboy. Thank you so much. Give me my family back and a new family to go with it. I don't want to let you go.
Well, what a powerful story that was. It's amazing. And thank you to all of you who have joined in our All is Bright campaign to make stories like that possible. My name is Brandon, and I'm here at our Henderson location at our All is Bright display. Behind me on this screen, each light illuminated represents the life of a child who's been impacted by the gift of someone at the Central family. We have a major goal this year, and we want to reach 15,000 kids and make their Christmas a little bit brighter. And as of right now, we made it to 6,056 kids, and that is something to celebrate. Thank you so much, Central, for your generosity. You know, as part of our Central family, you've been joining us every week online and joining in this community together, and we wanted to have a goal just for ourselves as part of the Central family. We're going to hit 500 kids by the end of the month. So far, we're at 86, which is awesome, but we've got a ways to go. So if you haven't had a chance to join in with us, you can navigate to centralonline.tv/allisbright for all the information about how you can make an impact financially, or you could just join in, hit the links, make a donation. It's $47 to sponsor a child. You could do 1, 2, 5. You could go crazy and kill the rest of the goal. Whatever you can do to make a difference, we'd love to have you be a part. Well, this experience has been awesome so far, so let's join together as we continue in worship.
No crib for a bed, the little Lord Jesus laid down his sweet head. The stars in the sky look down where he lay. The little Lord Jesus asleep on the
was there from the beginning. Set the land upon the sea. Shine a light into the darkness. Created every living thing. Who could knit us all together into a perfect masterpiece? Breathe a breath inside my lungs and give my heart a steady beat. Who's the architect and artist for whom the galaxies take shape? Holds the universe together and knows every star by name. Who's superior in wonder, yet identifies my pain. On the clouds or roll with thunder, bring forgiveness like the sing it out. I lift my eyes up to the mountains. My help comes from the Lord, the maker of heaven and earth. I lift my eyes up to the mountains. My help comes from the Lord, the maker of heaven and who would leave his throne in heaven and step down to the earth, choose an ordinary woman, and to the Son of God give birth? Who would take a sinner's cross, climb a hill and die for me, engrave my name into his hands? Only Jesus Christ, my King.
What a great experience it has been so far. We are so glad you're joining us. And like I mentioned earlier, this weekend, we are wrapping up our series leading up to Christmas titled Thrill of Hope. We can't wait to hear what Pastor Sean has in store for us today.
So good to see you. So good to have you. I want to say a very special welcome to those of you joining us at one of our central locations. A big shout out to Summerlin and Southern Highlands, to Sunrise Mountain, also our friends in Kingman, Arizona. Great to have you. Also want to welcome those of you joining us online, whether around the country or around the world. We consider you a part of the Central family, so it's great to have you. And as always, big shout out to our friends who join us in our partnership with God Behind Bars. Merry Christmas. We're grateful to have you as well. Well, you are here in week 4 of a series that we've been calling Thrill of Hope. It's been an amazing series that we've really taken the recent Christmas album that was produced by our team here, Central Live, and we've taken a song off of that album, and we've just kind of highlighted it, trying to find the meaning that that song might have for us right here in the Christmas season, bring meaning to our lives. And so today, as we continue this series, we're going to look at the song, this kind of the well-known ancient song of Joy to the World. How many of you love this song, Joy to the World? What a great song. And not only do I love the song, I love what the song represents. I love just the joy-filled experience that many times Christmas can bring. I would go as far to say our world needs a little more joy, right? And so just to infuse our world with a little more joy, but not just our world, for our lives to be infused with joy is such a special, special experience. Now, at the same time, I also recognize that the Christmas season can also be full of what I would call joy busters. I would love to think that every single person's life as they navigate the holiday season is nothing but awesome, joy-filled experiences. But we know that many times there are joy busters in this season. That many times if we're somebody who's experiencing an intense season of difficulty or loneliness, that the Christmas season has a way of magnifying those feelings, and it becomes kind of a joy buster. For some of us, we know in the Christmas season, we're going to go and see and interact with people that maybe we go a whole year without seeing on purpose. And so the thought of going back and sitting down and entering those tension-filled relationships, just the thought of it feels like a little bit of a joy buster. Maybe you've been at a place that ran out of eggnog, joy buster, which by the way, I actually think eggnog is disgusting. I don't even know who enjoys this stuff, but nevertheless, there are these joy busters, that happen along the way. But what if joy was not tied to our circumstances? What if joy had nothing to do with what was going on, nor the Christmas traditions, nor all the different things we do in the season? What if joy had nothing to do with sometimes the financial pressure and stress that we feel around this time of year? I read this week that 23% of Americans still owe money on their credit cards due to last year's Christmas purchases, right? I mean, you want to talk about joy buster, right? But what if true joy, like the joy that comes from God, has nothing to do with our circumstances? One of the things that we know about the very first Christmas story when God sent his son Jesus into the world is joy came with the person of Christ. I mean, look at the story. You may know it's in Luke chapter 2, but there was this moment where the shepherds were in the field. They were just kind of minding their own business. They were just tending their flock. These angels show up on the scene. Here's what the angels say. They say this: I bring you good news that will bring great what? Joy to all people. The Savior, yes, the Messiah, the Lord, has been born today in Bethlehem, the city of David. It was a moment of just great news. I mean, it's a moment that they were proclaiming that joy has entered the world through the person of Christ. Now, notice this. Joy didn't come because their circumstances changed back in the first century. The time that Jesus entered into the world was actually struggling with quite some things. And even the characters in the Christmas story were amidst their own turmoil. Think about it. I mean, Mary was pregnant, and the child is not Joseph's. Think about the rumors. Think about the pressures. Think about the odd looks they would have gotten for people as they journeyed along the way. She comes full term. The moment comes where she's going to have this baby, and there's no room in a place where you would like to deliver a child, so you end up turning an animal stable into a maternity ward. The circumstances were not optimal. And not only that, if you look about what was going on in the world, there was a guy by the name of King Herod. He was kind of a wicked man, but he was the Roman governor of the entire area. He heard that there was a child that was born that was supposed to become a king. He felt very paranoid, very threatened, very fearful of that moment. And so he let out a decree stating that every male child under the age of 2 years old was to be killed. Just think about the weeping and the wailing that would have permeated the entire area. The circumstances were not great. but joy had still arrived. It is kind of one of those things that we begin to recognize that joy is not about the changing of circumstances. Joy, as correctly understood, is not a circumstance, it's actually a person. His name is Jesus. Joy came in the person in such a way that permeates any and every circumstance. The beauty of what we recognize here is that joy doesn't come based on human happenings or human activity. True joy comes through God's intervention and God's activity in the world. And so the question becomes this. For you and I, maybe we're experiencing things that give us great joy in this season, but for some of us, our circumstances aren't optimal. They're not the best. But that doesn't mean we still can't experience the joy that came through the person of Christ. Because again, joy is not about human activity. It's about the intervention of God's activity in our lives. And so today I want to look again at this song that's called Joy to the World. It was written by a guy by the name of Isaac Watts, the year 1719. So a song that's about 300 years old. Now, what most people don't know is this song, Joy to the World, was actually based on a psalm of the Bible. Isaac Watts actually, he paraphrased Psalm 98, and it was the paraphrase of Psalm 98 that served as his inspiration to write this song, Joy to the World. And so what I love to do is take us back to the origin of the song, which is Psalm 98. So if you got a Bible, you can turn to the book of Psalms 98, or it will also show up on the screen as well. Now, if you think about these ancient psalms, about halfway through in the Bible, but basically the ancient psalms, they're just a collection of songs. Think about it as the Billboard Top 100 list, even though there's 150 of them. But hang it with me, right? It's basically the most popular songs of the day that were put together in a collection of songs. And that song, again, served as the basis of what we now know as this song, Joy to the World. So if you want to experience joy, if you want to experience joy not only this Christmas season, but in such a way that really is something we can experience in all seasons, the first thing that I think you'll discover in Psalm 98 is it reminds us to do this. Always be somebody that remembers the past. Remember the past. Again, here's Psalm 98. We're going to start at verse 1. It says this. Help me out with the red letter words. It says, "Sing to God a brand new song. He's made a world of wonders. He rolled up his sleeves. He set things right. God made history with salvation. He showed the world what he could do. He remembered to love us, a bonus to his dear family Israel, indefatigable love." By the way, I've never heard that word in my entire life until I read it here. I had to look it up this week, like, what does that mean? It actually means like tireless, relentless. God's love for you it never stops. It never ceases. It's indefatigable, apparently, a type of love. It says the whole earth comes to attention. Look, God's work of salvation. What the psalmist does is he causes us to look and remember. Not just remember the difficulty of our past. Plenty of us have colorful histories that we would love to forget. But there's some things that we should never forget. And we should never forget the amazing work that God has done in our history. Now, candidly speaking, I'm really not much of a sentimental type of guy. How many of you are real sentimental people? Like there are objects around the house that have, great meaning to you. I'm not very sentimental. My wife is incredibly sentimental. There are things that have a lot of meaning to her that don't make sense to me, but they have so much meaning for her that she can't let go of them. They're really important. So, for example, we have a huge tub that contains all of the schoolwork of our kids literally for years. I'm like, you pull out a first grade math test. Why do we need this anymore? But nevertheless, it captures my kid's childhood for my wife. She loves it. And I assume we're going to have tub after tub as this thing goes because those are really important memories. She loves to hold on to them. Now, there's one object in our house that the roles reversed. It's an object that my wife hates, but I can't let go of. It's a really important thing for me. I brought it. I'm going to show it to you, but let me give you the backstory real quick. When Lindsay and I were dating, so now probably 16 years ago, me being the kind, romantic type of guy, I took my wife on this, girlfriend at the time, on this date where we went to those pottery places and you paint a piece of pottery. You with me? Anybody ever done this? Now, it doesn't sound like fun to me because I'm not much of a creative, I'm not much of an artist, but she is. She's very creative, and I knew that she would love it. And so it's kind of one of those things that I did really for her benefit. But when we got there and we were trying to figure out which piece of pottery to paint, I picked out this bear, and I decided we would paint a Cubs uniform on this bear. And I thought, how great is this? I get to be with the person I love the most, and I get to paint something of the team that I love the most. This is going to be awesome. Now, we worked on this. Probably we had to go 2, 3, maybe 4 trips back because it was very detailed work. Again, I brought it with me, and I thought I would show it to you. This is the work of art that we created together. Not bad, huh? Now, here's what's interesting about this thing that I love. I love this thing. My wife hates this thing. My wife has tried to give this away multiple times. My wife has tried to throw it in the trash a couple times. But for me, this is the most important decoration in our house. When it comes to hosting a formal dinner, this needs to be the centerpiece every single time. I mean, I love this thing. And I think part of why I love it, again, is it represents 2 things that I love in life. My wife and a great baseball team that needs to try to keep winning, right? And so I love this thing. I can't get rid of this thing really it's got a lot of meaning and sentimental value for me. And so what do you do when your wife loves it or when your wife hates it and you love it? We've compromised that it sits on my workbench in the garage. And so I can see it and she never does. But nevertheless, it's the only sentimental thing that I have in my life. Now what's interesting about that is there's something about certain things in life that you look back on and they hold such meaning to you that you never want to let go of it. Now remember what the psalmist says. It's talking about God, and it says God rolls up his sleeves, God gets his hand dirty, God made history with salvation. I mean, it's this powerful statement that it kind of mindful of the amazing things that God has done, and it has impact in our lives today. It kind of makes me think about this. If you think about anything that you hold as sentimental, most likely it's sentimental because of who it reminds you of. It reminds you of their love, and it gives you joy in the present. I know people who've held on to things that represent somebody they've lost in the past, or somebody that was very meaningful to them, or somebody because they did something for them. And it's their love in the past that gives you joy in the present. And what the psalmist reminds us is much like that's our experience, that is true about God. God made history with salvation, like history with deliverance. And when he says history, he's not just talking about world history, although no doubt God fundamentally changed the world that very first Christmas. But he's not just talking about God made changes for world history. He's saying God changed your personal history. And for many of us, as we look back in our past, we see God's fingerprints all over our lives. We see God make personal history in our journey. My assumption is this. For those of you here in this room, for those of you just joining online, for those of you joining at our central location, for those of you joining us in our partnership with God Behind Bars, the truth is, among all of us, there are those in the past that were once lost, but now they've been found. There are those that were once riddled with addiction, feeling incredibly helpless, but now they're on the road of recovery. There were people who once were living in volatile anger, but now they live with this abiding peace that almost doesn't really make sense. There are those of us who've experienced intense loneliness in the past, but now feel like that we are now known and we are fully loved. There are those who are on the brink of relationship destruction, but God, by his amazing grace, has brought reconciliation, and we've never been in a better place we are now. The greatest thing in the world is God not only made history of salvation, God made history with your salvation, right? God changed my life and changed my journey, and if I remember the past, not just the things that I would like to forget, but we remember the things that we should never forget. The amazing work that God has done, his indefatigable love for us, gives us joy in the present. And so we remember the past, we learn to celebrate the present. We learn to celebrate the present. I don't know about you and your experience, but sometimes it's very difficult for me to live in the present. Sometimes it's very difficult for me to kind of really maximize a moment. I think that many times that is because the present feels unpleasant, right? That's probably true for a lot of us. And when the present feels unpleasant, I want to go somewhere else or do something else. And so maybe I'll go back to the past or I'll think about some in the future. Sometimes it's very hard for me to be mindful of the present. Now, I ran across a few pictures this week of a few animals that by looking at the picture, their present feels unpleasant. So here's the first one for you. So you got to wonder, like, what's going through a dog's mind. It's like, get these antlers off of me, you human. Doesn't make sense. All right, here's the second one. Pretty cute. Does it feel pleasant? The last one is my favorite one. Here's the last one for us. I'm not even sure what kind of animal that is, but it doesn't look, like overly pleasant, right? And so sometimes the present feels somewhat unpleasant, and because of that, we fail to see the joy in the moment and truly celebrate the moment. Many times I talk about my boys, and I've got two little boys. I've got a 9-year-old boy and an 11-year-old boy, and my 9-year-old is probably the one that teaches me the most about joy. Austin, probably more than anybody that I've ever been around in my entire life, this kid has the way of just being present in every moment. And I'm telling you, he's the most joy-filled person that I've ever been around. My joke about him a while ago is that he's never had a bad day in his life because he just lives in the present and he just maximizes the present. Maybe it's part of it because he hasn't had a lot of bad history that's clouding his present. He doesn't have a lot of anxiety and stress about the future. He just figures out a way to have fun in every single moment. Now, this past week, I decided to take my son to a hockey game, which was a lot of fun. I like to take my boys one-on-one to do one-on-one things with him, and it was Austin's turn, and so I took Austin to a hockey game. And so I asked Austin before we went, I said, hey, buddy, what time do you want to show up to the game? He said, well, what time do the doors open? I said, well, I think they open about an hour and 15 minutes before the game starts. He said, great, let's get there an hour and 45 minutes before the game starts. I'm like, buddy, you want to show up that early and just like wait around? He goes, oh yeah, it'll be awesome. I'm like, okay, sounds not awesome to me, but okay, let's do it. And so we show up an hour and 45 minutes before game time. We are first in line for when they open the gates and we can get in. Apparently, not a lot of people show up an hour and 45 minutes before game time. So we're first in line, and I'm already like bored out of my mind going, what are we going to do just standing here and waiting for 30 minutes? But Austin's unfazed. He's figuring out a way to have fun. He said, Dad, let's play a little I Spy. And so we played the most rousing game of I Spy for the next 30 minutes. And he's just having fun. He's just kind of enjoying literally every moment. Eventually, they opened the gate. And we were the first into the arena. We went all the way down next to the glass. That's not where our seats were. We sat way back. But because we're first in, they allow you down there in the pregame. And so we were in the prime spot, right against the glass, right against the home team's bench. We were prepared to watch the pregame. And he was very excited. He goes, man, I hope we can interact with the players. I'm like, oh, this is going to be great. And so we're standing there, and I'm going, how long until the pregame starts? And so I asked somebody near me, they said, the players will come out in about 45 minutes. I'm like, 45 more minutes? Like, are you kidding? Austin, unfazed, right? Austin hears the house music playing in the arena, and he's just dancing. He started a dance competition with the people who were gathered around us. That's Austin, right? He figures out how to have fun. He figures out kind of how to enjoy it. So he passes the time, no problem, for 45 minutes. Eventually comes the time that pregame happens. All the players skate on the ice. My son was amped out of his mind. We had made a sign before we went that really tries to get the attention of his favorite player, and no lie, for 30 solid minutes, my son never stopped. He had that sign against the glass. He was dancing like a madman. The players thought he was hilarious, and so they kept coming over. They tapped the glass with their stick right next to him. One of the players jumped into the glass, which is a lot of fun, and at the very end, one of the players, the guy that we were trying to get his attention to with the sign, he pointed at Austin, and he throws a puck over the glass to him for pregame. So here's a picture of my son holding that puck. I'm telling you, man, he was like cloud nine, like enjoying every moment of it. And the game hadn't even started yet. I mean, he's just having like the time of his life. So eventually, we get back to our seat. The game for Austin was fine. Like, he was okay with the game. But what he lived for is at any moment there was a stoppage of play, he got up and he just started dancing. He was trying to get the attention of the cameraman. So here's a quick video of Austin, kind of dancing. He learned all of his moves from his dad. That's what I'm talking about, right? You get to this in just a minute. You'll show how good of a teacher I am, because he starts like, he's like, okay, Dad's filming. Okay, here we go, right? And then getting the groove on. He breaks into the sprinkler. That's my boy. That's my move, right? He got on the Jumbotron twice. He was a little disappointed because he wanted a Jumbotron hat trick, he told me. But I'm painting this picture. You get the sense. Austin enjoys every single moment. Austin knows what I often miss is that joy can only be experienced right here, right now. Joy can only be experienced in the present. And if I'm not present in a moment, I will miss what God has for me right here in the here and now. I can't experience joy in the past. I can't experience joy in the future. Joy is experienced right now. And joy is not based on human activity. Joy is based on God's activity in and through our lives. Here's what the psalmist says. Here's what the psalmist says about this particular idea. It says this. It says, shout your praises to God, everybody. Let loose. Again, Austin has no problem. Let loose and sing. Strike up the band, round up an orchestra to play for God, add 100-voice choir, feature trumpets and big trombones, fill the air with, help me out, praises to King God. Let the sea and its fish give a round of applause with everything living on earth joining in. Let the ocean breakers call out encore and the mountains harmonize the finale. You just get the sense of this huge celebratory scene, this amazing scene that's taking place. And what you'll see is the singing, the music, the dancing, all those things really allude to one fact. It's just simply embracing the moment. It's just simply being present. Joy is only found in the present. And many times we don't experience joy around the Christmas season because of all the hustle and bustle. That I'm planning this, I'm doing that, I got to run here and there, and I fail to just simply be present. Joy is found in the present. And so here's my encouragement to you, as much as it's my encouragement to myself, is this Christmas, be present. And that may look a little bit different for all of us, but for me, it means turning off a lot of the noise and really dialing into what matters most. And so it may look like sitting on the couch with those that you love the most and turning off the TV, putting on a Christmas album, and just being with those that you love the most. It may be about just engaging a conversation, which is more about active listening than it is about talking. It may be about reading the Christmas story of Luke chapter 2 to your kids. It may be declaring an Amish day and going no technology and just really engaging with those that you love. I tell you what it certainly includes. It certainly includes being here for Christmas at Central. It certainly includes showing up and really experiencing all that what God has for you. And so, again, if you're here at Henderson, if you're at one of our central locations, even if you're online, make sure you decide when you're going to be a part of Christmas at Central. It is going to be epic. It is going to be over the top. You don't want to miss it. It is going to be awesome. But it gives us a chance to show up and to simply be present for the celebration of the Christ child coming into the world. But here's my encouragement. If you also want to be present, if you also want to experience joy this Christmas season, don't just come yourself, bring people with you. I tell you that there's nothing that you will get greater joy this Christmas season than if you invite a friend, a coworker, a neighbor, somebody you love with you, and watch the Christmas experience through their eyes. I tell you, somebody maybe who's currently far from God, who begins to lean into God for the first time, somebody who might be struggling through something that really connects with God and experiences hope and renewal and new life. I tell you, there is no greater joy in the world than to be on the front lines and being used by God to help facilitate life change in the life of somebody you love. So grab invite cards, do whatever you can to help people join you. If you're joining us online, we'll have online experience times. Use social media, use whatever it takes to even invite people to participate and experience Christmas at Central, even if it is online. This week I was putting my oldest son, Levi, to bed, and he was so excited. He was like so joy-filled. He goes, "Dad, I got to tell you something." I said, "What, buddy?" He said, "I was talking to my friend Eric this week. I invited him to Christmas at Central, and he's coming, and he's bringing his family with him." And it was such a powerful reminder of the joy that I saw in my oldest son's life as he included somebody very meaningful to him in a very meaningful experience. Whatever you do this Christmas season, be present. Joy is found in the moment. Joy is not connected just to human activity. Joy is found in God's intervention, in His activity in our world and in our life. So we remember the past. We celebrate the present. And we also look to the future. We begin to look to the future. Again, look how the psalmist continues in Psalm 98. It says this. It says, a tribute to God when he comes. When he comes to set the earth right. He'll straighten out the whole world. He will put the world right and everyone in it. It's kind of this powerful statement where the psalmist doesn't just look behind, doesn't just maximize the present, but begins to look to the future. Did you know the song, Joy to the World, was originally not a Christmas song? The song Joy to the World was originally written about the second coming of Jesus, not his first coming at Christmas. It was a look ahead. It was kind of a look ahead that if you can see it, if you can understand it, it has such great impact in our life today. You know, as I think about those who are looking ahead, there is no group of people who looks ahead more at Christmas than kids, right? Kids can't wait for Christmas. They're making out their Christmas lists. I remember it was probably about 3 years ago, I asked my kids to write out a Christmas list. And they kind of looked at me like I had 4 heads. I'm like, how is that like a new thing for you? But they're like, well, we don't know. We don't know what we want. So I had this idea that I would give them an iPad and put it on like the Target website, and they can kind of just browse through, get some ideas, and generate this list. And so I gave Levi quite a bit of time. I came back probably about an hour later, and he had this long list, and everything on the list was a Nerf product, every one of them. It was a Nerf gun, it was Nerf bullets, it was a Nerf shield, it was a Nerf bow and arrow. I mean, there's 20 items, you get the idea, all Nerf. And I'm like, okay, buddy, that's cool, I get the point, but do you want something other than Nerf? He said, well, yeah. I just couldn't get any other page to load. It's hard to be hopeful about something you can't see. And what's interesting is that sometimes when it comes to the spirituality and sometimes when it comes to, as we think about what God might do in the future, we get so disillusioned in the present and we don't see clearly in keeping our mind of what God has promised God will do. The beauty of what God has promised to do is the end has already been written. I don't know exactly how your story is going to play out. I don't know exactly how my story is going to play out. There's going to be all kinds of twists and turns, ups and downs, good, some bad, some intense difficulties. But amidst it all, I know how the story ends. And because I know how the story ends, I know that even in it all, even when it doesn't feel like it, even when the situation feels debilitating, what I know is when I connect my life to the person of Jesus, I will be victorious. When I connect my life to the person of Jesus, I will be able to overcome. I don't know how that's going to happen every time, but I know the end of the story. And when you know the end of the story, it has such a great impact on how I experience the present. It kind of reminds me of a young boy who was reading, and his mom was with him in bed, and they were reading this book together about his favorite cowboy hero. And the story from a child's mind felt pretty intense. I mean, the story had all kinds of twists and turns and ups and downs and these cliffhanger moments that the boy got so nervous about what was going to happen to his hero that he would sometimes cry. He would lose sleep at night. That the stress of it all was almost overwhelming. So much so that his mom said, you know, buddy, like, if you're not going to be able to read these books without such anxiety and anxiousness, if you're going to continue to lose sleep, I don't think you can read these books anymore. And so the next night he had an idea. He said, well, what if I read the end of the story first? Maybe that would help me read it as we go. And so she said, let's try it. And so the next night he read the end of the story, and as they began to turn back and read through the story, there were the same intense moments, there were the same cliffhangers, there were the same challenging spots. But under his breath, his mom could hear him say, don't worry about it. If you know what I know, it's going to be okay. Here's the truth. I don't know everything in your journey. I don't know the ups and downs, the highs and lows, the good and bads. But I do know the end of the story for those of you whose lives are connected to the person of Jesus. And whatever's going on in your life, if you knew what I knew, it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. And when we set our eyes on the future, and we're willing to look ahead to what God will ultimately do, it gives us the peace, the confidence, the joy to live in the moment no matter what's going on around us. Joy doesn't come through human activity. Joy comes through the intervention of God's activity through the person of Jesus Christ. And so through that, we remember the past. We remember what God has done. And because of that, we can celebrate the present and ultimately look ahead to the promise and the conviction of what God will ultimately do. I don't know where you're at in your journey, but as we approach this Christmas season where we celebrate the greatest moment of what God has done by sending His Son into our world, maybe, just maybe, we're not just celebrating His birthday, maybe, just maybe, we can celebrate the birthday of your second chance. It's when your life gets connected to His life that everything fundamentally becomes different. Not that our circumstances change, but we have access to the joy, to the meaning, to the purpose that God brings to us through the person of Jesus. And if you've never yielded your life to Him, if you've never given your life to Him, why not do it this Christmas season? Again, it'll always be the marker in your life every Christmas where you not only celebrate His birthday, you celebrate the birthday of your second chance that was given to you by God through His Son, Jesus. And so if you'd like to become a follower of His, if you want to yield your life to Him, I'm just going to say a simple prayer. And if you'd like to, you can simply repeat the words of this prayer after me. But if I could have everybody bow their heads, and if you'd like to become a follower of Jesus, just simply pray these words. God, thank You for loving me. I believe You died on the cross for my sin. I believe You rose again. Jesus, forgive me for my sin. Give me the gift of eternal life. Help me overcome the challenges I'm up against. Thank You for bringing joy that first Christmas. In Christ's name. And if you made that commitment, whether you're here at Henderson, whether you're watching online at one of our central locations, if you're a part of our ministry through God Behind Bars, if you would acknowledge that commitment, that surrender that you just did by just simply lifting your hand in the air, just acknowledging that decision before God. Father, I pray for every single hand that's raised. And Father, as we surrender to You, we just take the posture. We want to receive what You provide through us through Your Son, Jesus. God, thank You for sending joy that first Christmas, but God, I just ask that we could experience that joy this Christmas. No matter what's happening in our lives, no matter the circumstances, that God, we could experience a joy that ultimately comes from You and permeates everything else. God, thank You for Your incredible work in our lives. We yield our lives to You, and we pray that in the name of Your Son, Jesus. Amen. Let's give it up for those who made spiritual decisions today. It's awesome. If you can keep your hands together, I'm going to throw it back to our location pastors who are going to send us out today.
Oh, what an awesome message. Hey, I hope you can join us next weekend for Christmas at Central. Be sure to be inviting your friends and family. And if you forgot, we're going to be going live on December 23rd and 24th. You can find all experience times and locations that might be near you right now at christmasatsentral.com. And if you'd like to shine a bright light of hope on a child in need this Christmas season, you can visit centralonline.tv/allisbright or click the link in the description. But as you go through this week, remember to hang on to what Romans 8 says. If God is for us, who can be against us? Have a good one, and I'll see you at Christmas at Central.